peoples of the worldwide federated internet. What's good? Welcome. Thank you for joining me on this venture of the Thinkening. You see, I got my Batman shirt on today. I am a Marvel guy. I am a comic book geek. I have crates over there. You can't see them. They're off camera. Filled with comic books. I am a comic book collector. I have been collecting comic books. Well, I had a break in there. I started collecting comic books when I was 13, and I collected all the way up until, I want to say, 18. Went off into the military. Long story short, didn't want to be traveling around with a bunch of, comic books with me, so I stopped collecting. And actually, unfortunately, stopped collecting for many years and actually picked back up in around 2013. So it was a long stretch where I wasn't collecting at all, but I still have all my comic books. I'm a Marvel guy. Batman is my favorite hero. I say hero because technically Batman doesn't have any superpowers. Now, there are fan theories out there that he actually has superhuman intellect, which is why he is such a masterful thinker and detective. And this is one of the reasons why Batman has always intrigued me. Bruce Wayne is a thinker. He is a thinker's thinker. He thinks about things that most people brush off. They don't even consider, which is why when he's on the case, he finds things out that other people don't find. And another thing I like about Bruce Wayne is he is the normal guy's rich guy. He's a man who cared enough about his city that even though he had money, riches, power, and influence, he really devotes all his time to justice in his city. I like that. I've always, I think growing up, some part of me felt a connection with that. Growing up in a city like New York, growing up in Brooklyn, you see things that you shouldn't see. Things happen that shouldn't happen. People are treated in ways they shouldn't be treated. Crimes are perpetrated, but there's no justice for these crimes. And that always bothered me. Even as a kid, that bothered me. And Batman embodied justice for the people who couldn't help themselves. Always loved that. We are in an information war. An information civil war, I'll put it that way. We've all heard the saying, I'm sure you've heard it, you can attract a lot more bees with honey. I think a mistake has been made by people who are, like me, information junkies. It doesn't mean I know everything, and it doesn't mean I'm always privy to everything going on. News is moving so fast that it is almost impossible for one person to be privy to every story and side story going on right now. It's hard to keep up. It's hard for anyone to keep up. One of the mistakes made by people within the community, I'm going to call it the community of common sense, the community of people who look at all of the data, all of the information coming at them and make accurate assessments. Doesn't mean they're always right, but they make assessments based on, hey, here's what I'm seeing. Common sense says this based on the information that I have. There's a whole group of people out there that don't think that way. There's a whole group of people out there that you could give uncontrovertible evidence of something and they still would not believe it. They would still want to believe their lie. All of us to some degree have that. I'm not above that, and I don't think any of us are above that. But I think there's a difference. I think some recognize that they're not above that, and thus that is in essence a check against that bias. Because at times when I hear stuff and I'm like, I don't know about this, the first question I ask myself is, okay, am I saying this just because I don't want to believe truth that is readily in my face, or do I have a legitimate reason to question what it is I'm hearing? I try to do some kind of self-assessment, self-check. I'm not saying that I always come to the right conclusion, but I'm saying that this method, I believe, is very helpful in keeping you from being in a self-inflicted echo chamber. Because your first reaction is, all right, I don't know about this, but let me question, why am I questioning this information coming towards me? But I think some within the community of common sense sometimes get agitated with other people, or get agitated with people that don't know certain things. Do you know how long it was in my life before I actually read the U.S. Constitution for myself? A lot of it, I don't memorize the U.S. Constitution. It's something we should all read. Do you know how long it was before I actually read through the whole Declaration of Independence? So I think we need to have a little grace with people, a little patience with people. And I think that will yield better results. I think constantly attacking someone because they don't know something that you might know is condescending, and it definitely does not make them want to listen. And we need to have conversations right now. This is not the time. I think many people, because there's polarizing topics going on now, especially with all the election stuff, and I'm not even necessarily talking about that. I'm just talking in general. I think the reason why there is so much contrition, there's so much strife between warring ideologies, is because nobody's deciding to take the high ground and have a conversation. And I know that's not always the most glorious position, right? If you know without a shadow of a doubt that you are correct in your assessment and your belief, you ain't trying to hear nothing. You don't want to hear anything. All you want to hear is, yes, you're right. But that's not how life works. Oftentimes you have to be more diplomatic in your approach, and you have to be more diplomatic in your conversation strategy with people with whom you disagree with. Because if you're not willing to take that diplomatic strategy, then what's your point? What's your true point? If you believe that you are correct, if you believe you have the right information, don't you want people to know that? Those of you who listen to me, you know that I'm a Christian. I'm a Bible believer. I got saved when I was 20. One of the mistakes I made right after getting saved was I felt like it was my duty to make sure people got saved. No, that's not my duty. It is my duty to fear God, love the Lord my God with all my heart, soul, and mind, love my neighbor as myself, and it is my duty to preach the gospel, to share the gospel whenever given an opportunity. But it's not my responsibility to force anything on anyone. That's not what my responsibility is. Not only is that true in the spiritual world, this is also true in the natural or secular world. You're not going to convince anybody by shoving what you believe down their throat. It's actually going to create a it creates animus. It creates animosity. You make people mad. Nobody likes to be told they're wrong. We could all lie and be in denial and act like, oh no, I have no problem being told I'm wrong. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't like being told I'm wrong, but I understand that I am wrong a lot, and I can be wrong a lot, and I can be wrong about a number of things. And understanding that, when I go into a conversation, I now go into a conversation with the understanding that I'm standing my ground and I have logic behind what I'm saying. Let me have a conversation with this person, and maybe there's something that they might say that might enlighten me. It's very possible. But if the goal is this person over here is wrong, I have information they need and I want them to understand this information, then you got to change your approach. Different people respond in different ways. You're going to have your outliers. You're going to have your anomalies. You're going to have people who respond better, quite frankly, to aggression. There are those people out there. But if you want people, if you're right and you want people to understand, no, you're wrong about this issue, here are the facts, here's what's actually going on, you have to have actual conversations, and not one-way conversations where you talk and discredit what the other person is saying and don't give ear. Because a person knows when you're not giving ear to what they're saying. They know when, okay, this is just lip service. You're going to listen to me long enough so I can stop and you can get your lips to flapping. Nobody likes that. Nobody wants that. If I'm in a conversation with someone and I get the impression that, oh, you just listening to me long enough so you can come respond and say something, I feel disrespected. I feel slighted. And I'm more inclined not to listen to what this person is saying. You can attract more bees with honey. If we want civility returned, if we want the country united, then we have to change our approach. We have to change the way in which we have conversations. And I think over the years, and it's been more than just 4 years. It's been a lot longer than that. There's been bickering across political aisles, in my opinion, probably for a good, I'd say a solid 15 years, and arguably longer than that. There's always been political disagreements, hard conversations, but I don't know if it's ever been to this level. And this is the problem I'm seeing. This is it. Everybody wants to be right. Look, here's the bottom line. One of us is right. One of us is wrong. It is that black and white. It is literally that simple. And if I believe my position is right, then it is my duty to, one, present my arguments as logically as possible, and to also actually sit down and hear you out, even if I believe you're wrong. Respect. That's all that is. It's respect. This is something that I did not realize early on in life. I was a lot more fiery in my discussions as a younger man. That wasn't getting anywhere. No one was listening. All the fire, and it didn't matter how much facts I have, and none of the receipts mattered. My approach has changed everything. I can have conversations with people that I vehemently disagree with. And I'm not saying you sugarcoat what you're saying. I let people know in no uncertain terms, I unequivocally disagree with whatever your point is, and here's the logical argument for why I disagree with whatever you're saying. I don't have to yell at them to do that. I don't have to belittle a person to do that. This is something that's done, and this is really a problem. And in this information war, what we have to understand is you're going to be painted a certain way. People whose thoughts are outside of the norm are going to be painted in a certain light. You will not escape this. This is just what is going to be done. You have to understand that. If you look, I realized months ago when I established my first podcast, especially with the subject matter, I'm talking about the Bible. So I understand people are going to disagree. They're going to be trolls. There are going to be people who vehemently disagree. There's going to be people who disagree and do not know how to disagree and hold a conversation. You got to be ready for that, especially if your ideas are going out into the public space. You have to be ready for that. If you're sensitive to being criticized because of your ideas, so if you're sensitive to your ideas being challenged and criticized, you're going to run into a problem. You have to be prepared for that. I don't care how sound your arguments are. I don't care how many facts you have. I don't care what data you've researched and how long you've researched it. People are going to disagree. People are going to say things that are way out of pocket. People are going to call you out your name. People are going to talk about your family. It's the nature of the beast. This is an information war. And in an information war, you have two things going on. You have facts, aka truth, and you have propaganda, aka lies. So how do you get over that hurdle? Now, in an information war we have now, in some ways we're at a disadvantage, but in some ways we're actually at an advantage. During the Revolutionary War, the British were fighting what's known as the Gentleman's War. The colonists were having none of that. It was about winning. So they adjusted their strategy based on the current circumstance to win. We have to adjust our strategy based on the current circumstance to win. You have big tech against you. You have corporate media against you. If you're an information junkie, if you're a person that enjoys research, you got those two things against you, and they're not small entities. These are big things that you have working against you. So in order to mitigate that, in essence, what we have to do is what you see people like James O'Keefe doing. But he's doing guerrilla journalism. I'm not a journalist. I'm just an information junkie. So in a way, we have to do guerrilla information dissemination. I get on a camera and I talk about my thoughts. I might read some stories. I might look at some stuff, and I'm just sharing my thoughts about a certain topic. Now, in doing so, I realize that not everybody is in a position that I'm in. I enjoy information. Some people get discouraged. They get beat down. They get depressed about certain information they see. I'm the exact opposite. Information is exciting. I like taking it in. I like analyzing things. I like thinking about things. Hence the name of the podcast, The Thinking. But this is what I like. This is what I enjoy. So I understand, okay, not everybody's going to enjoy taking in all this information. Not everybody's going to enjoy looking up stuff and listening to long form podcasts and reading articles. And nobody wants to do that. Well, I say nobody. The average person doesn't want to do that. They might have a podcast or two they listen to on their issues that they like, and that's it. That's all they're doing. So what I try to do is I'm like I said, I'm not a journalist. I'm an information guy. I think about things. So I share my thoughts about stories. Now, people, I always say, just like I say on my Bible podcast, people should look into these things themselves. Make your own determination, but at least you know the story is out there. Just like people that had no idea, they had no clue about what was going on with Hunter Biden and this laptop before the election. No idea. Because the media didn't want people to know. But there were guerrilla information disseminators who are out there sharing a story and sharing their thoughts about the story. Now, those people were more journalists, and I'm not a journalist. I have no journalistic prowess. That's not my cup of tea. But I do love information. And a lot of times I have a lot of useless information rattling around in my head that's not the Bible. I'm thinking through a myriad of things. My mind is on comic book stories, the Bible, history, current affairs as it relates to history, technology, and a few other things. Always racing about these issues, not in a panic, but in a fit of excitement because there's so much out there. I love it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I love it. It's nice. I like reading. I like thinking about controversial stories. Of course, I love thinking through my Bible, which I do as I read my Bible. But again, as I said in the beginning, you can attract more bees with honey. If you feel like you have some information that friends need to know, if you feel like there's something that you have that they don't have by way of information, break bread with them, sit down and chop it up with them. If you've had a conversation about these things before and you think they won't listen, well, make an assessment, talk to them. Figure out what's going on. Figure out why you feel like they won't listen. Maybe it's exactly what I brought up earlier, that they know you're not really listening to them. You're just waiting for them to stop talking so you can rebut. If I'm talking to a person and the whole time they're talking, the only thing I'm thinking of is, I can't wait to respond, or I'm going to say this, or I'm going to say that. Now, granted, you're going to think when someone's talking to you, that's going to happen. But you have to make sure you're also being attentive to what they're saying, because if you're not, that's going to show. Nobody likes that. Nobody likes to be treated like a doormat. No one likes to be treated like their thoughts don't matter. I know I don't like being treated that way. If I'm talking to somebody and I get even the slightest inclination that they're not listening and hearing anything I have to say, they are tuned out immediately. You hear me? Immediately. I'm not getting ready to hear anything they have to say after that. Because at that point, this is not a conversation. This is a one-way lecture. They're just waiting to lecture me about whatever it is they think. I don't want to lecture people. I want to have conversations with people because conversations yield results. I am very hopeful about where we can go as a country moving forward. Now, that's not blind hope. I'm not a prophet. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. And to quote my bro, Peter, he coined this phrase. I didn't coin it. I'm not selling you hopium. That's not what I'm doing. I'm not selling you some false hope. I'm just saying I'm optimistic. And in that optimism, I realize if no one else will do it, I have to try my best to be a vehicle of conversation, right? A place where we could sit down, break bread, chop it up, and exchange some thoughts. That's one of the reasons why in my videos, even in my Bible videos, I try not to get too super excited and agitated because I realize how that's perceived. Even though people who know me, they'll tell you when I'm talking about things that I love, I get really excited, but I understand that doesn't necessarily translate well in video and audio if you don't know me. So I try my best to calm it down so that you can listen all the way through. And even if you disagree, you can say to yourself, you know what? I don't agree with this guy, but he actually presented his thoughts in a way that was palatable. Like, even though I disagreed, I'm going to give what he's saying some consideration. We need to do this. We can do this or tear our country apart. Your choice. Y'all know what it is. Stay frosty, people.